Yeah, so like, if you have it look like that, it will give it a little bit more, but this could fall through, but if you twist these,
it's less, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
and it'll help grab that on the way down. Then the other part is your 7-way cord. It's just going to connect to your truck from there, and then power your lights, turn signal, brakes, and then also charge the battery. And that will normally happen after 1500 RPMs. Your alternator will get your car battery good and then kick the charge back. Then you got your power jack, so down, up, and then a little, probably won't see too much of it in the sunlight.
Yeah.
And then if for some reason power does go out or your batteries are completely low and there's no way for you to charge, there's a manual nut down here. There's a little silver handle on the inside there that drops in there and gives you that like crankability. Let's hope you don't ever have to do that because it's a good arm workout. Behind that is your propane tanks, which I forget that these ones, they always put this little nut back here to hold it down. See if I can get this without it flying. So it's just like that little washer. There's nothing too special about what you're going to ever have to take that off for. Really, when you're camping with it, you're only going to have to take this, unscrew this, and access the top lid to turn your propane tank on, which for right now, turn it on there. Passes through your regulator and then into your actual unit from there.
Did anybody do any pressure testing on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we do a drop test.
Yeah.
We fill up the tank. We do a drop test and then a 50% test. So make sure that there's no leaks before we do the 50%, and then we test it at 50% to make sure that there's the right amount of propane hitting each appliance and not too much or too little.
Okay.
And then at any point, if you guys do have questions, don't fear to interrupt me and be like, hey, what?
Better to refill or exchange?
Refill.
Okay.
Budget, like,
well, yeah.
Price wise, refilling is better because when you're exchanging, there's always a little bit left on the bottom,
and they're not always 20-pound full.
Exactly. You're only getting these up to 80%. Like, there's no such thing as 100% full propane tank.
And that is for the refrigerator and the stove?
Your refrigerator is going to be 12 volts, so this will be your fuel source for your fridge.
Okay, so that's for the oven, stove,
and then
heat,
and
furnace,
hot water.
Furnace, stove, and hot water is going to be what is running off your propane on this particular unit. There are fridges out there that do run off propane, but they're starting, with everything, they're getting to more techie things.
And always off when traveling.
Yes, correct. And then that's safety, and then for certain, like before you go through tunnels, I've heard you got to have your propane off, so you'll see a lot of people pull off and turn them off, and a lot of those have their fridges on propane as they're driving, which I don't feel safe doing. Just behind that is the battery. So you're going to want to pop these lids off. Have you guys ever messed with the lead acid battery before?
Yeah.
So you're just making sure that these are topped off with water. I would say at least every month would be like ideal. Yeah. But just at least make sure you're popping them off, because if those cells go dry and then you're running it, the battery will bloat and it doesn't get to a good point eventually.
Distilled water?
Distilled water, yeah.
Okay. And then if we want to add a second,
there's going to be some screws down there, and you can just push this
there's
over.
There's room for a second box and all that? Okay.
Once we get the hitch hooked up, I haven't installed one of those yet, so I don't know how the brackets are going to sit, but depending on how everything lays out.
And that you said is for the fridge?
This is going to power all your 12-volt electrical system in the RV, and then that's including the fridge on that.
So would that be on while you're driving and your fridge could be on?
Yep, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which-
And then
Does that do air conditioning
That
too?
runs this.
No.
Okay.
That runs this.
Oh, okay. All right.
and then the whatever you're hooked up to is recharging that if you're hooked up and driving.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
And then as you're plugged
And
in,
then if you're on shore power,
Okay.
correct. And you know, you can always update the battery too, to where if for some reason, you know, you're really going more boondocking, you can go to like an AGM or lithium battery, which you can get a better cycle period out of those. Because the recommended is to not let this drop below 50%. Because what happens after that is it starts to decrease the charge rate. So right now this is the new battery, 100% charge, and if you drop it below 50, it will never get back up to that same charge. It'll kind of stay around like 98, 96%, but
Okay,
never
and
get full.
How long would that go? Like a couple of days if you're out camping, or a couple of weeks?
50%, it's really going to be based on usage, but let's say you're like high usage, I would say maybe 48 hours worth of
Oh, all
usage.
right. So check them that often.
Because most of this is going to be LED, lower energy pull, but I would have to check the fridge part, because I'm sure that's going to pull a little bit more charge from this battery.
So we just ought to get in the habit of checking every day.
Yeah, and you'll see on the little voltage, if that starts dropping below 11, like you'll see like it'll be like 12.6 is going to be a full charge battery, and once you get past 11 down to 10, that's when this battery is going to drop. The water's just you're going to pop that and make sure periodically, kind of like your oil in your car.
Oh, that means to charge it some more. Okay.
It's I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but it's just going to be like an oil in your car. You're not doing it every time you start your car, but periodically you're going to have to change it out.
All right.
The battery disconnect switch is here. So this is essentially severing this from the camper. The only time you're ever going to need to use that is when you're putting this into storage and you just want to cut the battery off, so that way there's not a septic draw from the unit. Like your antenna booster is going to pull from your battery, so if you put this in storage with that on, you'd come back and your battery would be dead. So when you go into storage, just flip that to off, and then when you're using it, back to on. When you're plugged in, your converter will power your 12 volt stuff, but make sure you're including your battery in that circuit. Kind of any questions up at the front so far? Make sure I'm not skipping over anything. On all four corners, you're going to see these stabilizing jacks. They're very similar to what you would see in your car to jack it up and change a tire, but these are not meant to support weight. They're just to prevent it from rocking. So it just keeps it stable when you guys are camping in it. What happens is if you jack this up and then pull your tires off, all that weight, it'll cause it just can't really support that weight essentially. Above that is the water heater. So this is going to be a Dometic water heater, and the other ones out there on the market are Suburban. The main difference is this is an aluminum tank, which is lighter weight and doesn't corrode, which is why there's the absence of the anti-rod. This is just a little plastic drain cap. I don't know if you guys have seen online
the rod that you have to pull out and exchange. Yeah,
you will never have to do that with this. If you guys are going into storage with it for a long time, I would just relieve the pressure here and then remove that to drain it out, and then that's all you would have to do. But as far as maintenance goes, there's not going to have to be a rod that you have to pull out.
And the electric switch is inside, it's not in the unit.
Correct.
It's not on. Okay.
Yeah, like on the Suburban, it's sitting right here.
Okay.
This is all going to be internal.
Inside.
This is going to be your propane gas valve, and then that's how the propane will heat in that tube, and then your electric element's going to be sitting behind here.
Okay.
You really should never need to open this. If you're opening this, something really broke.
Doing it all the time?
Just when you're going into storage. So if you're going into storage for, let's say, a week plus, I would just drain it just so that way there's just not water sitting in your tank.
So, do most people in South Carolina still winterize?
They do.
Okay.
A lot of people don't do the full-blown like pump antifreeze throughout the whole system.
Okay.
A lot of them will drain your water tank and then blow out the lines through your city water connection.
Okay.
And then you're going to open up your low point drains, which are on the back end.
Okay.
And then that's pretty much what they'll do, and then add antifreeze to the P traps, because that's kind of where water's sitting.
Okay.
And that's the lower south winterizing.
Okay.
If you guys are going more up north and then it's going into storage, I would do the full blown.
I mean, north is Charlotte. So.
I mean, I don't know though. That was a good winter storm this year.
Yeah, that's what. I mean, I don't know that we're going to be using it, but we'll be storing it. So
really,
I don't know.
That's what we did to a lot of our units out here. We just blew them out and then added antifreeze to the P-traps, and we had, so far as they've come back to the service bay, we've had no issues with any of them.
Okay.
Any other questions before I close this up? Your freshwater tank is going to be here, so this is how you fill it. Essentially, you pop that, set a hose in there, it'll fill up, and this is how you're going to get, if you guys are not next to a water pedestal, this is what the water pump will pick from, and then give your water to all your faucets from there. The drain for it is below here. So right now that's closed, and then that's open. So when you guys go into storage again, open that up and then just let it drain out. I'll go ahead and close it so that way. Below that is your city water connection. So when you guys are at a campsite with like a water spigot, you would just connect a regular hose up to this, and that's where your pressure and water supply would come from.
Okay, how big is the tank for the, you know, if you were just filling it up, not to a regular campsite?
I'm not sure on the exact size, so I don't want to lie to you and say it's this, but I think the common's like 30 to 50 gallons within that range.
Okay.
On a smaller travel trailer, I'm going to sit, I would guess 30.
30. And the water heater, how big is that?
It's going to be a 6 gallon.
6 ounce, okay.
When you guys, depending on how you guys do use your shower and hot water, I would turn on electric and propane to just boost the efficiency. But if you guys are very like, someone will take a shower in the morning, someone takes a shower at night, you can just run off electric if you're at a campsite, and that should be enough to keep up with it.
But you would run both on it though? If, you know, because they have 4.
I would, just because it, like, let's say it takes 40 minutes for that to heat up on propane or electric. If you run both of them, you're going to be at like 20-minute cycles.
Yeah, you'll have a quicker refresh.
Which me and my fiance are back-to-back showers, so that's anytime we go to shower, I'll turn both of them on just to get it hot quicker. Any other questions kind of on the freshwater city water connection? Okay. Those are going to be preps for slide toppers. They just kind of add those as like, that's where the secure point is to secure them to. They just do it from factory. The next thing is going to be black tank flush. So I don't know who's going to draw the short straw on doing the tanks, but what I typically do, and I just recommend just for like good tank maintenance, is I'll hook up to that just like your city water connection, and there's a pipe that runs to the black tank, and it sits kind of up on the top, and what it is it's going to spray water into the tank to like hit the sides and kind of help flush all the gunk out of there. So while I'm emptying the black tank, which is this handle right here, and you can tell by the black and gray handles, so that's closed, I would open it up, have that running, wait till it goes clear, unconnect that, let it run out, close my black tank, and then open up the gray water to flush out the hose. That's just so there's not particles sitting in there.
Okay, is that the gray and the black?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the gray water is just
your sink shower water, not toilet water. So anything that goes down your toilet is going to the black tank.
But if you're hooking up to a regular campsite that has it, you just open up both of them?
Leave your black tank closed always.
Always?
The reason that is the solids will stay behind and the liquids will go, and over time you'll start getting what's called a poop pyramid, and essentially it's going to be something that you have to bring into service, and we'll have to scoop all the stuff out to unclog it. But there's a lot of...
How do you hook it up if a campground has a sewer line and a...
So there's going to be, it's probably all the way across the shop, but there's going to be a hose that has this type of connection on the end of it.
Yeah.
And you're just going to screw it on and make sure it clips into those little...
And that's for the sewer line.
Correct.
Right.
It's going to go on the gray.
It all comes out the same.
It all
Okay,
comes out the
and
same.
then when you're cleaning it out, you do the black. Is that what you said?
So you're going to empty your black tank first, and that's
Yeah.
going to be all the toilet stuff. I'll close that back up, and then I'll empty my gray tank, which is your shower, kitchen, sink.
That's extra
Okay.
water to flush
Yeah,
it
and
out.
typically soapy
Yeah.
water,
Yeah.
Okay.
so it
Yeah.
helps clean out the hose.
It's,
So-
Okay.
it's more so when that's sitting stagnant in the hose, because it's not going to get all the water out. It just keeps it cleaner and doesn't let poop
Okay,
particles
so the
sit
sewer
there.
line goes on the gray one. Okay.
Yeah, you're going to really just have one sewer hose.
Yeah,
That's
there's
what
only
you pick
one
there.
pipe that goes into it,
Okay.
but you do the black one first. Once that's empty, then you empty the gray next, and that
Okay.
helps push
All right.
everything else
Okay.
out.
And the like an important note is your black tank flush. When you guys are hooked up to that, be attentive. Don't hook it up and then walk away, because there's nothing to say, all right, you're too full, stop, overflow. What happens is it's going to fill up your tank, go up to the toilet seal, which this is a new unit, so it's going to be good, and then it's going to go up the vent pipe and start coming out the roof. And so just be attentive when
What's
hooked up
going to do
this.
that?
If you're hooked up to this with the water hose
Oh.
and you're flushing out your black tank, don't just hook it up, turn it on, have your
And
black
walk
tank
away,
close and walk
because
away.
you're gonna have coming out the top.
That, in my opinion, that would be the best case scenario. If the toilet seal fails and it starts flooding out the unit, anytime you're hooking a hose up to this, I would stand here, and then when you're walking away, completely take the hose out. I've heard stories on forums where people have left it hooked up and they would just turn it on and off when they needed to use it, and someone else was using, I guess it was like a shared type of situation. They turned it on, they were gone, and they came back and their unit was flooded.
Oh, yeah.
So your city water would be safe to leave hooked up. But this, I would always pull the
Okay.
hose off just to prevent any issues.
And that one gets hooked up if the campsite doesn't have sewer. If it just has water and electric, is that?
That's just
No.
that's just a way to flush out your tank. It just
To flush
Yeah,
it?
think of it
Okay.
like a poop,
Okay.
a poop sprinkler. That's
All
really
right,
all
okay.
it is. This is going to be your cable satellite inlet. So at the pedestal, if they have a satellite or cable hookup, this is how you're going to provide it to the camper. So, I mean, it's kind of a dying art right now with Netflix and streaming services, so I don't see that too much, but that is where you would hook up if you wanted to use it. Then, earlier I was saying about the low point drains, they're sitting right here. That's going to be the lowest point in your plumbing system, so when you go to winterize it, right now they are open, so you would open them up, hook up a kind of like a blower attachment to your city water connection, and blow out all the water in your plumbing system. Kind of any questions on that, or? I'm going to just close these because they have them leave them open, and then we're starting to get calls now because then people go to hook up water and spewing everywhere, and they're like, "Oh no, something broke." It's like, no, we just left those open so nothing froze, but we're starting to get to spring. So above that's your 30 amp connection. The way to hook this up is there's a little L bracket. There's the L. I'll line those up, press in, and then twist to lock. And then you just screw that little cap on to hold it. And then I'll set that down just as like a little rain guard.
And can you also do a 50 amp? Can you change that to a 50 amp or not?
This is a 30 amp camper. Now you
Okay.
can hook up to 50 amps, but you're still only getting 30 amps of power.
Okay.
It's more of an adapter to like plug into it to get that power.
Okay.
That's where you see those like dog bones is what they call them. It's just ways to plug in.
Yeah,
Okay.
because some of the campsites we saw have 50 and some have only 30. You know, and
Yeah.
because I don't think it's the same cord for a 50 and a 30.
No, you would have a kind of like an
heavier.
adapter. Here, actually, I can grab one of those little ones. So like this would be, if we had a 50 amp plug and we wanted to go down to 30,
Yeah.
we would plug our 50 into this, and then that plugs into 30 amp, which then would be only 30 amps of power for 50 amp. But since this is only 30 amps, you're going to stay at, that's your max level right there.
Okay.
And then obviously you would get a different one for the 30 to 50.
Okay.
Just to pull that out. Speaking of the sewer hose, you can store it in here. A lot of people do that just because if there's any sludge that comes out, it's better to be out here in the bumper than in your storage area. You're prepped for a backup camera. Essentially, I think that one's that's Furrion, but if you guys end up getting a different brand, you're essentially just tapping into the same wire. So
What is that?
backup camera,
Oh, okay.
it's prepped for it, so it's
Okay.
not there. If you guys bought a Furrion, you just pop that lid off, plug it up, and then you're ready
Okay,
to
so
go.
we need to get a camera for that. It didn't come with one.
No, that's
Okay.
just prepped.
Okay,
So if you guys
alright.
want one, you can get it. It's Furrion is this one.
Okay. Furrion. You got that, Michael?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Spare tires here, same thing as your car.
I thought this was supposed to have the basket.
No, that's optional.
I thought we told them though.
Oh, I don't.
No, I don't remember it being.
All right.
I don't remember that, Gary.
All right.
It does come with a ladder, which is, I'm noticing they're phasing those out on a lot of campers right now. I think it's more of just a cost thing, but I like having a ladder.
So somebody can actually go up there and be on the roof and it won't damage it or break through or.
I would recommend like taking your shoes off. Anytime I get on these roofs, I just walk with my socks, so that way if there's a rock stuck in my sole,
Okay.
because it's a rubber roof, it's durable to a point,
Okay.
but it can open up. If you do get a, like let's say a slit in it, like I ended up getting a tree branch that slid open mine, the fix for it is a Turnabond tape and then lap sealant around that, a Turnabond tape, and that's considered a permanent fix.
Okay, so this is a PVC roof.
Mhm.
So is it the same, like die-core product, a Turnabond, everything? Just the self-leveling sealant is the same no matter if it's
The PVC,
PVC or
rubber.
rubber.
Yeah, that's what Diecore's selling point is on that.
Okay.
When you get into the fiberglass metal roofs, like that's
Yeah.
when it starts getting like to like that
Okay.
Sikaflex. I forgot the actual. It's like P30.
Now, is this roof, the insurance man says something about the roof for repairs and damage. He put us on that, Michael. Do you know what I remember I'm talking about?
Yeah, there was
the
some
other day?
on the insurance for, I think is it Progressive?
Yes.
Yeah, they have like a roof program, but I think it's I think it's repair replace.
It is, but I think this.
I mean, this is supposed to be no maintenance for whatever 15 years or something.
That's they're talking about the actual membrane itself,
Okay.
but the seals, which if you want to go up there, I can kind of point these things out
Yeah.
to you.
Okay.
So that way. It's, so, like, let's take this for example. Essentially,
Oh, so they're talking about this
This.
and not.
the actual lap sealant, which you can feel
It's still soft. Yeah.
like they just put this stuff on. So this is going to be insured to where if that starts kind of
Okay.
like flaking off, which that's the 15 year.
Okay.
This is going to be at least
Twice a year come up and
I would do every 90 days
90. Okay.
just to be safe. 'Cause
Yeah.
especially in varying climates. It's,
So this is just self-leveling die core and a caulk gun and
that's it. And
fix any spots where you see something, popped through or cracked or.
Which, yeah, so like let's say that it's like you see like it cracked open there. You would just take some denatured alcohol, wipe the surface down to get rid of any dirt, and then apply the Dicor.
Okay.
Because what happens is if there's a layer of dirt and then you put it on there, it could peel up.
Okay. Okay.
So I would say here in 90 days, come up here, and if you see it, you'll see the wide open crack on it.
Is there any AC maintenance? I mean, up here.
Not if you clean your coils and stuff like that. You should very rarely need to do that.
Okay.
But there is. How do I word that? It's like that would be my maintenance cycle for that. Is just make sure your coils are clean. It's more of a checking than an actual doing.
Okay.
Like I'll show you down when we get down there, kind of how to actually check that from the inside.
Okay.
You'll pop these things down and look up there, and if you see a bunch of hair and dander, that's when you would come up here, take this cap off, and then clean out your coils.
Okay.
Solar panel, you're going to want to make sure it's clean and clear.
Okay.
Because if there's a bunch of debris sitting on it,
they won't charge. The crystals won't charge. Okay. Windex?
Windex is
Probably
perfect.
okay, or just probably Dawn.
So
Yeah.
You're just cleaning it off. Like
Okay.
I would first brush all the debris off and then just kind of wipe it down.
I think eventually we'll add a second, but I don't know, because I think the thing can handle 200 and this is 80, so I'd probably end up adding a 100.
I was gonna say you got plenty of real estate.
Yeah, I think I'll probably end up doing another 100 over there.
When you penetrate through this roof,
Will it tap into the existing or no?
it will.
Do I? That's the thing. I mean, I don't know if if you just T-bone in and like
So
set a
right-
second one here and then T-bone into these.
That's where you're gonna connect into it.
Okay. So the only will be the mounts
And
is what would go in. The actual wiring will come.
That's already mounted. So you're gonna unclip these, and then
Okay.
there's gonna be like another one that will have like another set, and then you'll go
Okay.
positive, negative into that.
Okay.
When you go to do your brackets, butyl under it, screw it down, and then Dicor over top.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen people do it and they just, I mean, they goop everything. Like the threads, the underside, they just everywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't take much water to start
Okay.
getting crazy on you.
Okay.
That's going to be your antenna. So picking up local channels
Yep.
and stuff like that. Obviously your air conditioning, and then those two black things are your vent caps for your tanks. One's going to be your black and one's going to be your gray.
So what's the white dot of Dicor on top of those, since they both have it?
There's just a screw holding it down.
Oh, so
So-
then they go over it so that no water gets in. Okay.
I think it's a little extra at that point because it doesn't actually penetrate into the roof. I just think they
Yeah.
put it there just
Okay.
to prevent any risk. That's prep for. There's a Wi-Fi thing in there.
Okay.
I think it's like think of it like Sirius XM. It's like a subscription that you end up calling and you can get set up.
Okay. I thought it was inside.
It is. That's just the antenna portion.
Oh. Yeah, I thought the antenna was inside the wine guard unit, like the.
No, kind of like a combo.
Yeah.
No, that's going to be the separate part to it.
Missed it.
Yeah, it's an awkward transition.
So Michael, do we keep that piece of insurance that the guy said?
Probably.
We do, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think I would.
Yeah, now that you're saying that, it's making sense because I've seen a lot of times where people are like, "Oh, it's the lap sealant that people are thinking is probably under that also."
Yeah.
And then that's probably where the insurance would get you because then they're like, "Well, you didn't maintain your lap sealant." I'll open up the awning once you kind of crack that door. This is going to be kind of all of the accessories that came with it. So you've got a kind of griddle cooktop, which is going to hook up there. So The screws that are sitting in here are just if you guys didn't want those little legs. When I put this together, I made sure I put the legs on there so that way you could actually set it down. And I just left those in case for some reason you wanted to resort to those. This water hose is going to connect to your spray port. So you're just lining up. You can kind of see how that's lining up.
Okay.
And then you just press it in and twist.
Okay.
He
And
had
then we have a
white,
hose.
the other side was white, and
Yeah.
he lined up something.
Okay, there's probably an arrow or something.
Yep, right there.
There's just a
Okay,
little tooth
Okay.
And then that's lining up right
right
there.
at 12
Push.
o'clock.
Yeah,
Push and twist, and then
that's it. That
Okay.
locks it in.
and if you start getting these do come undone, so you can.
Okay.
If for some reason you want to get a different type of hose, you can take that attachment off.
Okay. And still have the quick connect.
Correct. It's a little ADD showing all these, but they were kind of coming out at separate times. So this will be a little prep surface, which all you're doing is setting there. That little thing just supports your weight. I wouldn't sit on it, but it'll hold the food. And I guess. Then for the actual grill griddle. Bracket for that. Kind of see how that's sitting. Same thing, just kind of hook it on there. And then you're gonna push that, and then it's gonna drop down, and then when you wanna just go like that. Pull these pins out. I would definitely not travel with this, because you will lose the grill. You're lining these holes up. There, there. It's just playing the slide game. And then you're just going to clip those in to hold it secure. And then, last step. I'll always put that on the inside just to protect your fittings. Take this. It's probably going to be a hard angle to hit. If you want to see through the wheel well here, a little bit better. Yeah, good shape. And all you're doing is connecting that. Feel it clicked, it's in there. And just like a hose, I turn that forward, which will lock it and then allow the flow of propane.
All right.
So if you hook that up, you're like it clicked, and you hook this up and there's no propane coming out. Here, I can show you here, it looks exactly the same. All you're doing is flipping that forward to allow the flow of propane. So if you're not getting propane, probably this is like that down there and you just need to flip it forward.
Okay.
And that's the propane up front, correct?
Yeah, and then this will connect. It's sitting right here. Hit my head, knocked it over. And yeah, you saw it. We just went in that little quick connect fitting.
So we're far enough away. The heat's not going to do any damage, warp, discolor,
And the
anything
paint
like that.
peeling on the handle there, the door handle, the corner there,
This?
that none of that'll peel or.
Oh.
from
I
the
would
heat?
actually switch these around. I just kind of was just putting
Oh,
them up there
okay,
to show
all
you.
right.
Oh,
I
so
gotcha.
put that
Okay.
further
I would-
away
I
from.
would flip them around.
Okay.
But to your first question about all this, if you are cooking on this and that it shouldn't happen, if it does, I would just stop cooking from that surface, take a photo, and then get with our get the warranty going on that, because it should, if you're using this base
Right.
and you got it clicked in, take a photo of how it's set up with and then the warranty should go real easy if that happens.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, you know, bacon starts splattering and throwing hot grease or something.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know.
I've not personally used these. I just know that this is how they make them.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they would stand by their product.
Okay.
If it's actually damaging it. And then to just break everything down is pretty much all in reverse. So just putting everything back so that way I don't end up forgetting and then drive off in the. Outdoor speakers are up there. Obviously, your porch light is that yellow one, and then you have an awning light, which is that LED strip. This is going to be the vent for your range hood on the inside. So if you are cooking bacon on the inside, that is how that will exhaust.
What are those?
This is going.
Yeah, that's the exhaust that comes out from your refrigerator or
Furnace.
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 So
Okay.
this will
Actually.
be pulling the air in, and this will be exhausting it.
And it's on the even though it's on the opposite side like that.
That's your water heater on that side. This will be your heat, like the heat
Oh,
for
okay.
the inside.
Yeah, it's on this side then.
So that will essentially be a micro space heater also, which I did pull the sealant off that they did have on there because it was kind of a crappy job.
Inside there, if we're doing the heater, do we need to worry about carbon monoxide? Is there a carbon monoxide
There's a CO2 and propane detector in there.
in there? Okay.
So if that, I'll show you when we get in there.
Okay.
But if that does go off, all you're doing is coming outside, turning off your propane tank, opening up your windows, have the exhaust fan going, let it clear out, and I mean, if you're in a spot where you need to access that, leave propane off and then windows open with your exhaust fan. For these steps, always make sure your door is fully open. Because what happens is this will catch your door.
It just fits.
Just like that. I'll show you kind of like this, but as that pulls down, you're going to adjust your legs like that. So pull up to your campsite, make sure your door is open. Drop it down. Just for reference, like right now you can see that needs to come down. You don't want to adjust it so much that you can fit your finger through this gap.
Because then the door won't close?
Exactly. Because then you'll catch this and then you'll be like, why is the door so hard to close? So what I like to do is I like to bring them all the way up to where it's kind of just hanging like that. And then I'll bring the legs down to the first click. And then I know I got a good gap right there. So that way the door and next thing is I'll show you the awning. There may be some water from the washer sitting there still. It's not the fastest thing, but slower things are less likely to
Hey,
break.
at least you ain't cranking it.
I've done a few of the manual ones, and yeah, so at that point you see the metal tube, stop there. So the thing about the awning is it doesn't know what length it's going to. So yeah, the motion you were doing, 2 out of 3 times it'll just roll back up on itself, and then on that 3rd time you could run the risk of it ripping out from the where it's seated at. Really the main thing about the awning is your kind of pitch adjustment. So right now, if it's sunny out, clear skies, you're fine leaving it just like this, unless it gets super windy. If it's, I would say, over 12-mile-an-hour gust, just go ahead and bring it in and not even risk it, because this thing will turn into a kite really fast. If you have it out and it's raining, you don't want it to accumulate on the actual awning. You can pick what side you want it to spill on, and all you're doing is just pulling that down. And you can do it on both sides. When you go to pull this awning back in, make sure those are back to straight like that. Same thing with that. 2 out of 3 times you'd be okay, and on that 3rd time it's going to bend the arm and you'll have to replace the awning. Any kind of questions on?
Is there any maintenance care for the awning? I mean,
just washing it just like your camper.
Okay. There's no UV protectant or anything that needs to get applied, or?
Not that I've been informed of.
Yeah,
but I think this is going to be just as durable as your actual roof membrane. What's going to happen is this will get wet, and as you roll it up, mildew and stuff will form. So just making sure it's washed is the main thing, because you'll start getting that funky smell. And really, just be eye of the wind. If it's really blowing and you're not using it, just bring it in. I'll let you roll it back up so I can show you the switches. But
He probably didn't hear. He said roll it up, Gary.
so you're going to see awning extend and retract. You're just going to hit the retract button and hold it down all the way on the other side. Yep. That's for what you were pointing at earlier. That's a internet thing. So the other way, you're going to retract it. Yep. And the difference from extending to retracting is when you retract, you can just bring it all the way in. Be cautious at the door, and it'll roll up and stop on its own. And you see that little plastic cap on the end right there?
Yep.
That's going to be the same as your power jack, your manual override nut. So if this does get stuck out on you, you can sit there and crank it in that way.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, I would. Hopefully you don't have to do that. And that's it, yeah. So now we're pretty much ready for the inside, unless you guys have any questions on the outside portion. That's going to be your 30 amp cord.
Power nut.
It's good that they do provide this.
Just a 3/4.
And then
that's the same for the jack too?
For your jack is going to be
the hand.
this one.
Oh, okay.
That's the
I didn't realize there was 2 in there. Okay.
So this one will go for your
if
jack.
we have to manually do that.
And your awning.
Okay.
And yeah, you're gonna be sitting there.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what cap you pull off? The one that's on
Yeah,
that
that-
bar
You see that
going
little
up?
Yeah.
plastic thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not on that one, but you see it on that one?
Yeah.
That's the one. And then, obviously, you got your power cord with it. This, I'll show you on the inside too. These are motion. One is just on, center is off, 2 is motion. I'll turn off so that way there's not a power pull. So you got 4 kids going in this thing?
2.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have 1 on the way, and my RV already seems smaller.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys are ready.
Bug screens?
I would recommend them. I know I read somewhere that Suburban says that it will void your
the warranty if you have it on. So yeah, I think it's like leave them on during the summer
and
if you're not running it.
And then take them off in the winter, which also a lot of people don't know is if you have your bug screens on, it rains, water in it freezes over, what's going to happen is it's going to restrict your airflow, which isn't going to allow the furnace to kick on.
Okay.
Because the way the furnace works is it blows, and there's a little lever called the sail switch, which lifts up. When it's lifted up, it's just like a normal switch. It makes the connection, and it'll let the board know, all right, we got enough airflow, go ahead and ignite. If for some reason that doesn't lift up because there's no airflow, it won't let your furnace ignite.
Okay. And then I guess because it's a 12-volt fridge, there's no outdoor refrigerator box like there is on most.
Correct. Like what you're talking about, that would be cut. And then
Yeah.
No.
There's no access. It's all internal. Okay.
If you ever need to get to the back of it, you're unscrewing the fridge and pulling it out.
Okay.
Which 12 volts are. The only issues we've seen with them have been the coolant leaks, which
Okay.
you would tell by a smell of ammonia. It would smell like a cat.
Inside the fridge?
Inside the fridge and behind it.
Key?
Yeah, they're going to be on the inside.
Okay. Well, but I mean, they're the same.
I believe so. As I keep jumping around units, I forget which ones are what.
Okay.
It should be. Let's see.
Well, maybe not.
So this is going to be 376. So yeah, this is going to be purple front door, black is compartments.
Okay.
And then this is going to be your 751 key, which
it's
is
just the one.
That one in the
Yeah.
back. I'm going to just leave it as there so they don't get lost. Just to kind of get air circulation in here, I'll go ahead and get the air conditioning working. The way that your thermostat's going to work is you're going to have temperature setting and then mode. So right now we're off. Fan low, fan high. Cool is going to be your air conditioning. On it, 39.
That's the same button for the heat also? Or?
Correct.
Okay.
I'll kind of cycle to it. We've had cool low, auto, heat. Same thing. It'll beep at us, and then we hear the fan kick. Just like I was explaining with the sail switch, it'll blow for a little while, and we'll hear it tick here shortly. I believe I turned propane on.
There. I hear the pilot trying.
I can't remember if I turned the propane on or not. That sounded like it just ignited. Yeah. And then always a for sure way of telling is put your hand out at the exhaust. Yeah. So I feel
You got hot. Okay.
Turn that off because I don't want to turn this into a sweat box for us. Just put that on cool low. Alright. Let's jump back over here. That is that little pad up there that you saw earlier. I know in the packet there's probably the instructions on how to get that activated. That's more Sirius XM style. Your phone's hotspot is going to be kind of similar function, so if you have a really good plan with a hotspot, you may not need to use that. The awning button, your extend and retract, slide room in and out from there. Awning LED, which you can kind of see it turn on and off. Porch light, which is the yellow light, and then interior lights are just going to be the ones that you see turning off and on right now. Like these ones down here are not going to turn off with it.
Okay.
This is going to be your solar controller. Really, that's just going to show the state of charge. So right now, the battery's still pulling a charge. 13.4 is us plugged into shore power. That's just showing the voltage to see what the solar panel's doing right now. 3.5 amps of charge. And that's mostly as that sun starts to peak a little bit better, you're going to see that number increase.
What's the wet mean?
The battery type. So
Wet battery. Okay.
if you
Versus
get a
a
different one,
AGM.
you would just press and hold and then you can switch. So like light,
lithium ion,
yep, and then
gel, AGM, yep.
And then just tap from there.
So this is the battery's
Kind of
3/4 full.
Yeah.
So is that also on there?
That one in there is just going to show, it is, but right now it's going to show that it's like fully charging. This one's just kind of giving a state of charge versus,
Okay.
in there it's just going to say it's charging.
Okay.
And did you say we draw some power or solar? We have some solar up there?
Yeah.
So there's a panel up there. I'm not good at the calculations, but it's not going to be enough to just power this whole thing.
Yeah.
But essentially that is pushing a charge to the battery, which is powering this. So it may just break even versus.
Yeah, it's only an 80 watt, so it's not going to last forever.
It's more of just a trickle charger.
I just wanted to see what we're getting. Ooh.
You can flip that little lid thing up to maybe pinch it in there.
Darren, did you understand all those buttons over there? Did you
Well,
hear them?
I saw the buttons and everything, but that one, yeah.
Really, this is more of a display. It's one other thing I will point out about it. If, let's say that
Blown 49 degrees.
Oh, wow.
if for some reason your panel charges too much, and say you walk up to this and it's dead, like you're not seeing anything, back these screws out and there's a fuse in line, a little 30 amp fuse behind this.
Okay.
The only reason I know that is because I was adding solar panels, and from the factory they reversed polarity on them. So as we brought it down, it tripped the fuse, and that's where it was sitting. Now,
Is this on?
yeah, should be sitting on right now.
Alright. Oh yeah, it's cold.
Now for this little table, it's just going to pop up, flip in, and then we just pull down.
Just enough to get past the little notch.
Right there, yep, see it? And
Yep.
then you can see it right there, and then you're just going to let it slide down.
And does that hold a couple pounds?
I would say 15.
15, okay.
That's, as I've like seen a bunch of, like 15 has kind of been the standard.
All right.
Yeah, I would not use it as a changing table or anything.
Now you throw vegetables on there or something when you're working on them to get them on. Okay.
Yeah, correct. Like, it's more for like if you're doing dishes, you can kind of put the dirty ones or the clean ones there, or
Okay.
just things like that. Obviously, you're going to have all your. Yeah, but this one is a little weird just because of the plumbing.
But I mean, that's perfect for silverware.
Oh, this one, yeah.
You just put it, and then yeah.
It threw me for a trip because I opened it up and I was like, wow, those are really long drawer slides. Stereo, press and hold. I believe it is, or it's just the, okay, no, that's just the tap. So the no link right now is because I was testing out the Bluetooth. So you would look for the Furion on your Bluetooth settings and you can connect your phone that way.
Okay.
And that's just from this button. If you want to go to regular radio. So the way that it works is by zones. You're going to have zone 1 and zone 2.
Is there a brightness setting on that thing?
There is not. I mean, I think it's that sunlight is hitting it really. Yeah, those friction hinges are.
There we go.
So, zone 1's in here. I guess that's the press one. So right now that's off. Zone 2 on. And you can run them both together. I'm going to turn the volume down so I don't blow our ears off. So right now both are on, and then you can select which one you want on or off. And then you're going to have your USB, HDMI, I believe that's aux. Don't know what AV really is. I've never used one. HDMI is if you want to hook your TV up to the stereo from there, that's the way to do it, but then obviously you have a cord hanging around. And then obviously you got all the settings down there for setting it up. Any kind of questions so far on any of that?
So the TV audio comes out of the TV and not out of the speakers.
Correct. Unless there's a way to hook up a Bluetooth
From there and
to
pair
connect
it.
there. That would be a way. I've never tested that theory, but that's a standing
Maybe,
theory I have.
Okay.
The one I keep hearing people talk about is hooking an HDMI cord and running it, but to me that's a little interfering.
Okay.
Speaking of which, I guess we could head to the TV next.
I was gonna say we got 2 remotes.
That should be for your stereo, and then you got your TV one, which is here. So, sitting behind here.
It's
see
on.
this little
Oh, it's
Up
next.
here.
Yep, right
this little
there.
button.
So
See
it's
the green
lit
light?
up green. Yeah,
That
now.
means the antenna booster's on. Now that it's off, that's just regular antenna mode.
Okay.
The difference is, if you're using your antenna, just go ahead and turn it on. It's boosting your signal for more reliability.
Okay.
And then here, just go in, channel, make sure it's on air, and auto scan. Yes, and then it should start pulling in channels. When traveling, make sure you got this clip. I'm just going to clip it in for now, just so that way it's not forgotten. We just had one of these. It was left unsecure, and then it swung and then cracked, and then the guy left the new TV sitting on top of the bunk, and it fell off and broke the new TV. So, always good to make sure it's secure. So now it's showing it's found 12 channels.
I mean, you can. I would say you can just exit, just to.
Too close to it. Let's see. So then this is just going to be our pulling channels out of the whatever
Right.
local ones are here. Get sucked into the TV. And then, like you saw, that's just going to control that stereo.
Okay.
Down there, that's what you were asking about earlier with the propane CO2. If you want to ever test it, I'll save our ears. Just press that button, that will turn red and start screaming at you. And then obviously if that happens, open up your windows, have the exhaust fan in the bathroom going, and turn off your propane. Because essentially that's either meaning you have a propane leak or somehow there's carbon monoxide getting in here from your furnace vent, or I think that is the only thing that would really expel carbon monoxide into here. I can show the bed next.
Yeah.
What's the other little green one there? The one off to the right there.
So these are your 110 power,
Yeah.
what you're probably used to in your
Yeah,
house.
I know. Yeah.
When you're plugged in, and then if you're not plugged in and you want to charge a phone, that's going to be your 12 volt.
Okay.
So USBs will run off 12 volt.
So if we're unplugged right now, you won't get power through here, but you'll get power through here to charge devices,
Yeah.
whatever USB type charger is there.
That charges off the battery then?
Yeah, that's pulling from your battery. Correct. So to flip this thing down, I don't know if you guys have played with this yet. We'll lift it up. That will drop down. That's set up from there. And then to just do everything in reverse, well actually I'll windows you can open up and then vent like that. My old school bus teacher told me if you ever touch the red handle, the window will fall out. That's not the case here.
So then if you do need to get out, you open that and
Pull that, and that it just rips your
that rips the screen out.
and then you just jump through it. Their theory behind that is here, so that will just go all the way through.
Okay.
I guess the theory is if you're in an emergency, the window's smacking you in the head on the way out, so you can prevent you from getting out. Roll this up. It'll
So there's no storage back in there then, is there?
There's two cubbies under there.
Here, okay.
But as far as back here,
That's under there,
That's
here.
that under storage.
Outside, okay.
And then off to the kind of the side
Is the
kind of, I guess it's hard to see, but on that other panel you can unscrew that, and that would be access for your water pump and water heater.
Okay.
So if you ever need to get back there to get to those,
Okay.
that's where you can get access it easily. Which
Okay.
is kind of why you see the trim stop right there.
Yep.
When you roll this up, it'll just clip in on its own. I always grab the back because it makes it easier. Just flip the back, and then like you were saying, there's no storage down there.
And then under there.
And above those nettings up
Yeah.
above. Okay.
Which, this being down, there's just a little clip up here, which
Oh yeah.
it clips into. Smoke detector, same as your house.
And did you get that up behind that TV, something about green and doing something? Did you get what
Yeah,
you
it's
was talking
there's
about
for
over
the
there?
cable,
Okay.
the cable wire.
A little antenna booster, so if you need, press that to increase the signal.
Yeah.
All right.
Which, if you're using that, just go ahead and use. I mean, why not? You do have storage under the benches. And those just kind of lift up
Yeah, it's a gas strut.
to drop down to a bed. Kind of like as you're seeing, like you're gonna kind of be like placing your hands on that table, and what happens is it's gonna start putting a lot of pressure down on these fittings. So when I go to take this off, I wouldn't just grab this, because what happens is people break it a lot of times. I'll grab the base and then kind of lift up from here. Fling the phone. So I'll kind of just use my arms and then pop it up like that.
Okay.
And then obviously you'll take these out.
And these are the same, top and bottom. There's no.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you should not have orientation on them.
It just sits on
Oh,
a
it sits
little
on the
black
ledge
thing.
there. I
Yeah.
see. I see it.
And
Okay.
then you're just gonna pull. And then I would normally just throw those in that gas strutted storage area.
Oh, underneath.
And that would be kind of the
All right.
bed set up there. That's like a, almost like a twin, like bigger
How
twin.
much does that hold?
I've seen they recommend 200 pounds. I think it, or 300. I think it, yeah, it's 200 to 300 from what I've seen. I don't know exactly what the specs are for that specific bed. Next, I showed you that would be the fridge.
Okay.
You still have your thing in there too.
Yeah.
So, as far as the fridge goes, this is going to be your main power control system up here. Right now, if we wanted to turn it off, press and holds, and that's off. So if you go into storage, that's something I would turn off because it's it's just going to keep running no matter what, unless you sever the bat with the disconnect. Turn back on, press and hold. This is going to be the freezer, and this is going to be the fridge power setting. So right now, if we want it a little bit warmer.
Is it 1 to 5?
Yeah, I believe it goes 1 to 5. Yes.
And 5 is the coldest, or the
Correct.
warmest, the coldest. Okay.
So let's say 3, and then
All right.
fridge, say 3. This moon button is essentially not for midnight snacks, but for if the compressor and fan get too loud for you while sleeping, you can press that and it quiets the fan. That's what its function is, but also that decreases its efficiency at the same time. And then, now that it's not too cold, and then you kind of saw how to open that.
39. Does that seem good for a fridge?
That's very good.
Okay.
So that was,
That's what I keep mine at home.
yeah, and that,
Okay.
I mean, this is all 12 volt too, so it's not even running off regular. I mean, when you increase the solar on that, I think your wattage information sitting right here.
Okay.
So I know a lot of those sites have it where you can input all the power consumption that you have,
And it'll tell you what to.
give a good like solar array.
Okay, and that was 39, and it was at initially at 4, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
So you could go one more power level up. I don't know what that would increase.
Frozen?
Yeah. Feels like it's working.
It's gonna hold ice cream.
Yeah, I'm wanting to upgrade because I live in mine full time, and I got the old school LP one, and it's just like it's probably the same size fridge, but the freezer is you're only like this much space in there, and ice cream barely holds. So your bunks are sitting there. Power station, kind of the breaker box is below that. You're gonna have that fan split into two. So you're gonna have what you are used to in your house, regular kind of 110 breakers.
110.
Then on the other side, you're gonna have your 12 volts. 15 amps gonna be your common fuse for LED lights and stuff like that. The 230s, I believe, one is for the kind of like the control board. There's like a relay switch that all the other wires run to. If that's blinking at you ever, it's probably one of those switches. And then the 40 is going to be your converter, which is that little fan running at you. Other than that, that's pretty much that's function. And they do, luckily, I think, it looks like they did not label it, so let's see. It should go, if for some reason a fuse does pop, yeah, you can see that little red light sitting in there. All you're doing is just replacing it. There's no questions on that.
Did the bunks have USB ports in them?
They're gonna have them
Back
back
wall.
wall. There's gonna be a
Back
light
wall.
switch and then
On
sitting right
both
here.
bunks.
Let me just double check before. Yes.
Okay, and do both those windows kick out if the kids need to get out?
That's an emergency exit, and then that one is just a regular window. So put the skinnier one up there.
So he can slide it in out, okay.
Yeah. But that's essentially that size
Same
window.
as that, okay.
Correct. So gas water heating switch, electric water heating switch. I won't turn those on just because right now there's no water sitting in that tank. But you would just flip them on temporarily and you'd see the light illuminate. Water pump, the same thing. Battery, what you were asking earlier, right now it's just showing full because we're plugged in and it's just saying that it's charging. When you unplug it is when you'll see the state of charge that the battery's at. Then you're going to see your fresh tank, black tank, and gray tank levels there. It's good to keep maintenance up on those because those things will start misreading real quick if you don't have like a good clean regimen going on with it. Essentially, making sure you're just having product down there to help break down solids. I don't think there's anything behind here, just regular medicine cabinet. Just make sure that that's looped in there. Toilet. With toilet will work is you'll kind of press this little foot handle here. It's not showing it, but right there it would start filling up with water on a light press. Get it to the level that you want, do your business, full press, flushes. Shower curtain there. And it goes from there. I'm gonna just go ahead and turn off all of these because we leave them open so that way it's what they have us doing for winterizing right now. Okay. And then the exhaust fan there was the last thing that I haven't shown. Twist to open, switch to exhaust the air. Have this on while you're always showering because moisture is the enemy in this situation.
That's only one speed?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
you just have on or off.
Okay.
You can upgrade this if you do want to. Like they do have max fans, fantastic fans that do have speed settings, controllers.
Okay.
Options are endless in that.
There's that,
Little black, yeah, little bungee.
yeah, to hold that door closed.
A lot of these are going to be, there's switches on there. So let's say when you come in here to switch this and you only want that light coming on, you can select what you want.
Okay.
Same thing with these
They
top
just
lights.
pop off then, if you have to replace the bulbs?
There you won't. It's LED.
Okay.
So if this does go out, you're just going to replace the whole thing, which
Okay. It's what
should not happen. And then yeah,
Hey, man made it, man, it's gonna break.
eventually, yeah. They claim it's better, but yeah, you're gonna have to replace it a lot less than halogen.
Right.
And then these are gonna be manual light, so you'll need to have a lighter. Go up to full light, you can hear the propane going, and you would light it from there.
Okay.
And then you do have the convection microwave, which I'm not a professional at, but I made sure to leave the manual in there so that way it can work. But this is essentially taking over for what would be an oven.
So you can do baking in there, or have it as a microwave. And that metal, what is that metal pan that's in there?
That's going to be for the oven feature to
When
it.
it's convection mode,
Okay.
you leave that in. If it's microwave mode, you take it out.
Correct.
Okay, so if you want to bake something, you leave it in and put the casserole dish on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I left the manual there specifically so that way.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I've never worked with convection.
I just recently got one because I've heard, like propane stoves in a lot of RVs are just like, they'll get really hot in the center and then not so hot and you're inconsistent cooking.
Okay.
So I actually switched to it's like Panasonic for one, but it's a convection oven too, and we do pretty much all the same things that we would, but it's more consistent now
Okay.
than in that propane.
All right.
Exhaust fan, and then your light.
So that has to get manually opened on the outside.
Correct. Right now it is open, and
Okay.
then there's a flap that you can shut, so when you go into storage, you're not getting birds' nest up in there. I can't think, I'm not spotting anything else, but are there kind of any questions that
Filters.
filters? Yes.
And then, yeah,
I
the
did wanna
coil or
show you
whatever,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So you're gonna grab that. And then let's just grab that before someone steps on it. And then you're just kind of grabbing this on the side.
And that's just a spray off.
So that would be sitting in there like that. So all the dirt and debris is going to
It'll
be
be on
here.
one side.
Wash it there, let it run out, and then just let this air dry. As far as the coils, you have to come from this angle. Do you see them right there?
Oh yeah.
So that little wire sticking in there is the freeze sensor. So if that starts to freeze over,
Just that little skinny white one?
Yep. That'll tell it to not to, it'll kick it off, say like, hey, it's getting too cold and freezing over. Earlier when you're asking about the maintenance, you can, when you're cleaning these filters, I would look up there, and if you see a bunch of hair and debris on those coils, you would remove the shroud on the top and clean it from there.
Clean it, okay.
They make coil cleaners with little brushes and stuff, and you pretty much spray it on there, brush it, and then rinse it off with the hose. That would be the AC maintenance.
Okay.
As far as the furnace goes, you're not going to have to maintain that. You're just mostly going to want to make sure, you know, hair, nothing accumulates.
That's what I was going to ask about, was same thing, hair, dust, dirt, whatever.
But as far as filters, there's not a filter sitting on the actual furnace itself. And then you can see how you're just lining it into those two channels. These things are just going to clip in here.
And then
I always go to the center first. And then that's pretty much that. Any other kind of...
So you got a filter on both sides then, right?
So yeah, you're gonna have return air coming in here, and then exhaust air spitting out there, and then you can close which side you want. So if you don't want the bunks to be...
I was just saying, so if the, yeah, because if it's blown straight at the top bunk, you may want to
kind of...
Oh, you can adjust them. Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. That's good. Okay.
Well, that would,
Yeah, that's just kind of shutting it off. I was, as you said that, I was like kind of starting to think.
Well, does it, I mean, you can cut it to 50% though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying you can direct it, but
Oh,
if
just the
the
temperature.
top one is getting way too much,
Yeah.
you can at least cut it in half.
So where
Almost like a
there's not-
car vent has an on-off switch.
Yes, exactly. And the 50% rule does make a lot of sense, because then if they're freezing out up there, you can kind of
Yeah.
give them a fighting chance.
give them a blanket.
Yeah,
Well, I was gonna
this
say they
this
could-
isn't gonna block too much air.
And does he just climb up there? There's not.
There's not a
He
ladder.
just climbs in there.
So
I mean,
yeah, I
he really
mean,
will.
I've found a ladder on Amazon that people have recommended, but I mean it's like $75 for a bunk ladder that has like the little,
Yeah.
it has like little hooks.
And the other thing
to-
is, this is not.
Is not
It's
weight
just
bearing.
screwed in right there. I mean, a little kid getting up there, I don't see an issue, but that would be a concern point for me.
Yeah.
As far as,
And this is fixed, right? Yeah. Okay.
I mean, the best case, I don't know how tall he is, but a step stool situation.
Probably about that high.
He's 42 inches. I think.
So I could see like a
Just remember
step
him.
stool situation.
Yeah, that
under
might be
there.
not a bad one of those little foldy plastic ones that just
Yeah.
could slip right under.
Because then, yeah, you can always stash it under there when you need to. Or
Alrighty. Anything we need to go over, Gary? No questions?
I mean, they're
Speak now.
well, no, you can always call them. Yeah, I was gonna say there's gonna be probably 16 questions formed on the way home.